All right, welcome back to the show. Right now, we're going to dive into our famous grave feature. Now, we were actually going to do someone different this week, but we ended up doing a change in light of the fact of recent events that have happened here in January of 2021 with the inauguration of the new president. It was unveiled that the inaugural painting that is put on display was done by an artist that coincidentally we had visited last year, or actually visited in 2019. The artist featured was Robert S. Duncanson. Now, the other thing that I found interesting about that, as it was mentioned, is that he was an artist from Cincinnati, which is the home base of the Necro Tourist. And actually, in the 1840s, he lived in the actual town that I live in right now, Mount Healthy. So that was interesting to find that out, that a world-renowned landscape artist was actually resided in the town I'm in. Okay, that being said, he went to the Hudson School of Painting. He was considered the second generation of this school, and he started what was known as the Ohio River Valley Landscapes movement. Now, his work was becoming recognized, and in 1850, he painted the entrance foyer for Nicholas Longworth, who is a well-to-do Cincinnatian. If you're from the tri-state, you certainly know who he is. He painted 8 6-foot by 9-foot murals, and these things gave him much more exposure. However, these murals were covered up with wallpaper until 1955, until they were rescued, and then those works were put on display at the Taft Museum, Cincinnati's Taft Museum, which is the Taft Museum of the William Howard Taft, President Taft fame. Now, as an artist, he was able to travel throughout Europe during the Civil War, which was kind of interesting, knowing that he was an African-American artist, which is one of the things that brought such prestige to him. Now, when he died, he had a seizure while he was living in Detroit, Michigan. He was actually setting up an art show. He was admitted into the hospital, and he died 2 months later. Lead poisoning is suspected to be the cause. Now, to where that's a little bit of his bio information. Now, how it gets us to Necro traveling is because he is actually buried near Detroit in the Woodland Cemetery. The Woodland Cemetery is located in Monroe, Michigan. That is in Monroe County. It was established in 1810. It's 11 acres. It is a really cool cemetery. I enjoyed being there. That's for another day. General Custer has family there, and quite a few other historic, famous people there. Anyway, back to Duncanson. He has a cool new marker that has just recently been installed. Turns out that several people in the art community in Detroit, very specifically people from the Detroit Fine Arts Breakfast Club and the Detroit Arts Institute, very specifically Dora Kelly and Henry Heading, who auctioned off some of his own art, made sure that this cool new stone was installed. This was actually unveiled in 2018. It was done by the LeClaire Monument Company in Lambertville, Michigan. It was installed right after the unveiling, and then the actual physical unveiling after it was installed was in June of 2019. That was kind of cool because we were there in the fall of 2019, so it was very new. Now, the actual painting that you see on the grave is one of his most famous paintings. It's an etching that is on display currently right now in the Detroit Art Institute. So it was very cool to actually see something that was socially relevant at the moment from a famous grave that we had recently visited. So if you are looking for a place that's slightly off the beaten path while visiting some of the major cemeteries in the Detroit area, we strongly suggest you go to the Woodland Cemetery to visit painter extraordinaire Robert Duncanson.